guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a very anticipated book haul. So this will be the first, I think, and maybe probably the only book haul this year, because I have not been buying anything because I've been a really good non-buyer. I've been properly reading from the TBR, especially considering the fact that I haven't been reading as much this year, and being aware of that means that I know that it's pointless to buy books since I'm not reading them. But I did go back to France, and France is, well, I'll explain as I go along. But basically what happened was when I was in France, and like I actually wasn't really planning on buying that much, but when I was in France, I read De la Terre à la Lune, from the Earth to the Moon by Jules Verne, and turns out this ends on a cliffhanger. So I was like, oh no, I need to buy the sequel while I'm in France. Otherwise, I can't leave on a cliffhanger. I can't leave on a cliffhanger. That's unacceptable. So I went to the Bouquiniste in Paris. So basically I was not in Paris I can't say this properly. I was in France for 2 weeks, but I was only in Paris for 2 days. And for the first week and a half, I was in a region in France where there aren't bookstores on every street. It's very much villages and in the middle of the mountains. So yeah, there's just no, we'd have to drive a little while for me to actually get to a bookstore. So there was no point, there's really no reason for me to go book shopping, because also the selection isn't as good. So it's just like, I'll wait till I'm in Paris. I have 2 days there. I'm sure I'll find something. But yeah, so when I was in Paris for the last 2 days of my vacation, I immediately went to the Bouquiniste on the River Seine, because that's where I buy these old 1960s editions of Jules Verne. It's an edition I absolutely love, because it's just like the traditional illustrations on top of a real picture of something. Here it's like the moon, and then there's no blurb, there's nothing. So I can just pick up the book and immediately read them. And they're all like kind of, since they're used and they're so old and they've gotten through some of my hands, like all the sprayed edges are a little bit tired and what's the word? Diluted by the sun. They're stained by the sun. They're bleached by the sun. See, after a while, I always find the word I'm looking for. But yeah, they're always bleached by the sun. But I think that just really adds to the character of these books, and I absolutely love these editions. So I went to the Bouquiniste to find the sequel, which is Autour de la Lune, so around the moon. And I was so happy I finally got my hands on this. But of course I couldn't stop there, and I was like, all right, I'll add on to my Jules Verne collection. I wasn't planning on buying Jules Verne because I already have enough of my TBR to last me at least until my next, or even the next France trip. But I was like, you know what, we're here, they're so cheap, I'm gonna buy them. So I bought Autour de la Lune, so around the moon. And then I bought Le Château des Carpates. You see, only €3, so cheap. Le Château des Carpates, so the castle of Carpath, or it's actually translated to the Carpathian castle in English. I also bought Hector Servadac. So this is a 1968 book. Then I bought these two, which I hadn't heard about, and haven't heard about because turns out they're short story collections. So I bought Hier et Demain, so yesterday and tomorrow, which is actually a short story collection, but within his same adventure series. And then also another short story collection, Le Docteur Ox, which is from 1978. So I bought those two. And then, so those I haven't read. And then I did buy two that I have read already, which is something I don't usually do because I actually am building a proper collection. I'm not a collection personally, but with Zola and Jules Verne, for some reason, I want these in these proper editions. So even though I've read these, I bought 20 Lieues sous les mers, so 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1969, and Voyage au centre de terre, Journey to the Center of the Earth. This one doesn't have a date. So yeah, I've already read these. I've read them in the modern folio classics, so regular paperback folio classics in France, very classic, white covers, etc. But I will get rid of these and then replace them with these because there's no reason to have two editions. But yeah, I'm happy that I finally have these editions because they're just absolutely marvelous. Love that. So like I said, I bought a lot of Jules Verne. that was my Jules Verne collection. Now, I bought one Jules Verne where I made a mistake, and I'm sad because I wanted that one. It was the Around the World in 80 Days. I really wanted that one, but then I realized when I bought it, it had the blurb on the back, which means that's a more recent edition. So the front looks the same, but the back has a blurb, and that means it's a more recent edition, and I don't want those. So I went back to the bookseller, asked if I could exchange it for something for the same price, and I had already purchased all of his Verne books that I didn't already have, so there's nothing I could pick from Verne. The Zolas I already all have. Couldn't really find anything else, so I decided on this book by Marguerite Yourcenar, very famous French author whose name I know very, very well, and yet I've never read, and I have no idea what she writes about. But because I know her name, I was like, well, this, I probably can't go wrong with this. So I bought Love au Noir, so the dark, I don't know how they translate it into English, so the black art, the black thing, I don't know how you translate that into English easily, but I bought this. I have no idea what it's about because, again, no blurb on the back, but my mom said, yeah, you can't go wrong with that. This is good. So I bought this. So I was very happy with that because it'll give me an introduction to a French author that I do know but don't know, And then I would say this is my only purchase where I was like, I probably shouldn't have bought this. This was like, I'm not a how do you say? I'm not a in the moment kind of buyer. Usually I think things over. Like Jules Verne, easy purchase. I just buy what I don't own. But these, and they were such a good price. I was like, you know what? I can't go wrong. This is so famous. I'll read it eventually, even if it's not now. So I'll just get it. But I bought volumes 1 through 3, all 3 volumes of Mémoires d'outre-tombe, so memoirs from outside the grave, beyond the grave, by Chateaubriand, which is his very famous, memoir of something. I don't really know. I just know it's super famous. And it's silly because I already have a Chateaubriand on my TBR, his Voyage en Amérique, his voyages to the North America, I think. And I haven't read it, so I shouldn't have bought this, but it's beautiful. And the whole set of 3 was only €10, so like $10. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get them because they're wonderful and beautiful, and this will be fantastic to read when I get to it eventually. So yeah, this was my only like splurge in the moment purchase, but €10, can't go wrong with that. So I am actually happy about buying this. Like, this is exciting. So then that's what I bought at the bouquiniste. He was very happy to see me. Of course, granted, we walked more kilometers after I bought all those books, so my shoulder wasn't very happy, but the bouquiniste was very happy to see me. So then, going away from all the classic French authors, let's go into another thing. I was super excited because this is a book that I knew we owned. This is my grandfather's book. I knew we owned it, but I could not find it. And it turns out it was because it was originally in my grandparents' apartment, but at some point my mom had taken it and brought it to our home, and that's where it had been hiding. So I finally found it, and that is the Chinese classic Jing Bing Mei. So here's the Chinese title. This is so Unicorn can see this and be like, oh, that's the book you bought, although she's already seen this on my Instagram stories, so that's beyond the point. But yeah, Fleur en fiole d'or. So I don't know if this is anonymous because there's no author, so it might be anonymous work. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, I don't even know what it's about, but I just know it's a book that I've always had my eye on. It was my grandfather's work, which is really fun because on the very first volume, like, I can see he didn't get very far because he always underlines all like names and places whenever he writes a book, and that ends on like page 20. So he didn't get very far in the book, but I plan on reading it, and I'm very, very excited, except this is really, really heavy because they're like 1,000 pages each volume. And question, like, I never buy box sets because I don't like these boxes because I don't know what to do with them. Like, do I keep them? Do I don't keep them? Like, it's convenient for travel because like the books won't get damaged. But on my bookcase, this is like, you know, like these few millimeters of like box is precious for storing, for like actually putting books on my bookshelf. So I don't know, do I want to throw this away, keep it? I don't know. Tell me what you think. What should I do with the box? Anyway, very happy to have finally found that and brought it back into my hands, because I'm, you know, let's be honest, I'm the only one actually reading these Chinese classics in my family. No one else is interested in them. So there. Now, as I said, the Jules Verne, all of that is very obvious purchase for me. So that's easy. Now the question is finding more books that I'm interested in, because lately, even in English, I haven't really been inspired by what's been available. So I had searched through a few bookstores in Paris. I had walked into a few bookstores in Paris, and they just weren't doing anything for me. And then on the last day, at the very last moment, I walked into one, and their presentation was so different. Like the layout of the tables was so different, and now all of a sudden I saw so many things that looked really interesting. So it really just like opened up my eyes, gave me a nice good brain refresh, and I was just like, yeah, I want to read this. And there I found 3 books. So in the first bookstore, I found 3 books that really interested me. This one, Alpinistes by Cédric Gras. This is a nonfiction about basically the start of alpinism in China. So basically Mao, and to show the strength and power of China, wanted Chinese nationals to climb Mount Everest. Problem is, alpinism wasn't a thing in China, and most of these people had never seen a mountain in their life. So all of a sudden he's asking these very, very not properly trained people to conquer Mount Everest. So you can see the kind of disaster and problems that would arise from doing this. So the story is basically the birth of alpinism in China, China's desire to conquer Mount Everest, and then all of the rumors and like basically just issues behind this. And all in the background, you have Mao's China in the background. So there's a lot about Tibet in here and the conquering of Tibet, Mao's policies, all the issues with Russia. That's all going on in the background while you had these people trying to conquer Mount Everest, even though they'd never seen a mountain. So there we go. That was sounded super fascinating. By the way, I've already read this. Yeah, this sounded super fascinating to me, and I picked this up immediately. Like, this was like a must buy. Like, this is exactly what I was looking for. Like, something about China, but a little bit different, nonfiction. And yeah, this was amazing. So yeah, was amazing find. Like, happy to buy that. Then I went to the, they had really good bookstore shelves for languages and translation, which French bookstores are really good about that. But here they actually properly separated it by country. So I got one Chinese book called Un paradis, so a paradise, by this author, which I will let Unicorn tell me how it's pronounced. But this is basically, oh, there's a piece of tape. Got it. This is basically about like an illegal clinic for women who are pregnant, and I don't know if they're having abortions here or not, but it's basically it's just supposed to be a feminist novel that denounces the patriarchal society when it comes to rape and genetic selection within contemporary China. So that sounds really, really fascinating. Translated by Brigitte Duzon. That just sounds really, 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 really interesting. So I was happy to put my hands on this one. And then after that, I found this, which sounds equally amazing. It's called Tempête rouge by this author, Tsering Dondrup. So basically this is a Tibetan author, and this is basically a fiction about Tibet within Mao's China. So it's really good to have the Tibetan side of Mao's China and the disaster between China and Tibet. So really excited about this, to have an actual proper Tibetan author talk about that. So really excited. Yeah, so that's gonna be so good. So then in another bookstore I went in, which is like a used bookstore. Mainly it's a used bookstore, but it does also have new books. But it's the Robert Jeune in Paris, so that whole chain of bookstores up on Saint-Michel. And so there I walked in to just pick up an Amélie Nothomb. I wanted to buy her books used because there's so many, I figured, but they were in such bad condition that I just got this one new. But this is a Premier Sang by Amélie Nothomb, so the First Blood by Amélie Nothomb. I picked this up because I always like to have a new Nothomb to put my hands on. And then I had the genius idea, which basically I wanted to check out just to see the offerings, because there was a books in English at the bookstore. So I just want to see what kind of people, what kind of books were being offered in Paris. Like what are the foreigners in Paris reading in English? Because it's definitely different than what the foreigners in Japan are reading in Japan. So I mean English reading foreigners. But yeah, there was a copy of one of Machado de Assis's books. And I was really tempted to get it, but it was in bad condition. So I was like, no, I'm just not gonna get it. But it triggered in my brain. I was like, wait a second, I've never looked up Machado de Assis in French translation. Machado de Assis being a Brazilian Portuguese writing author. So I was like, wait, I've never looked up in France. He's definitely been translated into French. And lo and behold, of course he has, because France is very good at translating books from abroad. Excellent translation program. And so I bought L'Alienist by Machado de Assis. And I actually bought another one of his books, but I gave that to my mother, and then when she reads it, I'll steal it. That one was, what book did I buy for her? Is there his books? I bought something about, oh yeah, Le Philosophe ou le Chien, Quincas Borba. So the philosopher or his dog, Quincas Borba. So yeah, this is translated by Marvion Lapouge Pitorelli. I didn't say who translated the Tibetan book. I know you're supposed to name the translator. Tibetan book was translated by Françoise Robin. But yeah, so I knew I just needed to pick up a Machado de Assis because it seems so obvious. Yeah, buy him in French. I don't remember what it's about, but I'm sure it's gonna be excellent. Then in the same bookstore, I wanted to look up some more plays, to read more plays in French. And I was interested in reading a play by Victor Hugo. So Victor Hugo is an author I haven't read in a very long time, but I did absolutely adore his books at the time. Les Misérables, Notre-Dame de Paris, my favorite, L'Homme qui rit, also Les Derniers jours d'un condamné. Like, I love all those books, they're fantastic. And I wanted to try, I said, well, I'll go for one of his plays. Victor Hugo did write plays. So I bought Lucrèce Borgia. I don't remember what it's about. Carnival in Venice is the book, the 3 words that stick out from the back. But this is gonna be good, I'm sure. Then I told myself I wouldn't buy any Japanese books in French translation because I already have too many books. I haven't really been reading anything in Japanese lately, but these are the folio €2 books, so only €2. I was like, all right, I can do that. So I bought Le Dernier, autres, nouvelles by Shūsaku Endōo. So a lot of these folio books do short stories. Like, they'll just put like 3 short stories in the book and sell it for €2. And I don't know, I like reading them every once in a while. And so yeah, Shūsaku Endōo sounded like a really good choice for reading like 2 or 3 short stories. And then the same thing, I bought 17 by Oe Kenzaburo Oe. This is just one, it's not short stories, it's just this one tiny novella called 17. But it's just sounded really good. So 17 translated by Ryoji Nakamura and René de Secati. And Le Dernier Souper by, a Vietnamese person, Minh Nguyen Mordvinov. Ah, interesting. Yeah, so these 2 books I bought. And finally, and then I bought, really quickly, I bought the 101th volume in French of Detective Conan, so Detective Conan, so always good to have on hand. And then finally, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but actually when I was in the non-Paris portion of France, I went up to walk to a fort near Grenoble, and there was a little book placing area where you're free to put down books and you're free to take books as you want, kind of like a free little library. And I found these 2 books. I actually found more, but it turns out we already own them, so I left them there, but sorry. But yeah, I bought Le Geste, so the Yves mannerism, hand mannerism, Geste, by Henri Troyat. Henri Troyat is kind of like a forgotten French author that I actually quite like, so I bought this. I don't remember what it's about, but I didn't buy it. I found it and I took it and got it for free. So Le Geste by Henri Troyat. And then to add to my Clézio reading collection, because I quite like Clézio, I've discovered, and I say I discovered because I have a lot of people around me who don't like Clézio, so you know, that influence can always kind of, you know, it chirps at your ears and it makes you think, well, maybe I won't like this author, but I do like this author quite a bit. So Le Chercheur d'Or was there, and I decided to pick this up. Although I don't like these folios with the really bad font. Every once in a while you get one of these older folios with this really kind of smaller, more difficult to read font. But you know, I got it for free, so I'm not gonna complain. So yeah, that was my huge book haul. I think it was 21 books when I calculated it, which is a lot considering at the time I made this book haul, I'd only read 15 books this year. Yeah, I've only read 15 books this year. So all of a sudden reading 21 books is a lot. It's actually ridiculous, but it's gonna be my only haul this year because I have nowhere else to buy books that I really want to. Although one book I read in Japanese, but you'll see that in a different video. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this book haul despite all of my stumbling on my words, because it's been a while since I've done a video. Also touching my hair a lot. I know I do that. It's always happens when I've just washed it, so it's kind of like I want to touch it when I've just washed it. So sorry about that. I know I touched my hair a lot in this video. It's not like I'm trying to make myself, no, I'm trying to make myself attractive. Let's be honest here. But no, it's a habit. It just happens. Anyway, thank you so much for watching me babble and continue on numerous tangents. I will see you in my next video. Bye.